The story starts at a high school in Korea where a teacher with glasses is teaching the students about natural disasters. He's using big words, explaining that natural disasters are disastrous and catastrophic natural phenomena, an ill-starred event of nature, often referring to floods, earthquakes, and typhoons. As well as this, people often describe events that can't be stopped by humans as natural disasters too. He starts to give examples of these events to all the students, two of which are in the back of the class board. Feeling nauseous because of all the big words the teacher is using, one of them nudges the other to show him a video on his phone. It's a video of the white-capped superhuman that was taken a few days ago. It's super close-up and high resolution, which is really rare for superhuman fights. Whoever filmed it must have risked their life by getting this close. The two students completely ignore their teacher and watch the video of the white-capped superhuman fighting an enemy. They find it unbelievable, and many of the comments below think the same. Where are these monsters even coming from? The teacher spots the two students bickering at the back of the class and calls out to them, wanting to know what they are whispering about. They are saved from getting yelled at when an alarm starts blaring around the whole school. It's a disaster alert, warning everyone of a monster attack. The alert grabs the attention of the students, who completely forget about their lesson, all except for one student who is asleep on his desk, not even seeming bothered in the slightest. The alert explains that an inhuman monster has been spotted near the port. For that reason, all classes are cancelled and everyone must quickly go home. The teacher orders the class to quiet down, slamming a book on the table to get their attention. They shouldn't shove each other in the hallways nor go anywhere else. They should carefully go home as they have been instructed. One female student with black hair seems annoyed. This stupid alert is happening again when it has only been a week since it happened last. In fact, this is the third time it has happened this year. Something definitely can't be right. A few years ago, an inhuman killed approximately 70 people and wiped out the city of Gangneung. If an inhuman of similar strength to that one appeared again, it would be bad. As everyone leaves, the female student notices the guy that is still sleeping on the desk next to her. She tries to remember his name. He's always sleeping like this. She calls over to him to try and get his attention and wake him up. However, it's the student's phone that wakes him up when he gets a call from someone called Ju Rai. He answers the call while still half asleep at his desk. This is Kang, a first year at this high school, and our main character in this story. Over the phone, Ju Rai explains that there is a monster at the port, offering to send Kang the exact coordinates and reminding him not to forget his earpiece. Kang replies affirmatively before hanging up and noticing the female student staring at him strangely. He asks what her problem is and the girl tells him about the alert and that he needs to go home, saying he missed it because he was asleep. Kang takes a big stretch and lets out a yawn, saying that he will go now then. But he doesn't move and instead waits for the girl to leave first. While walking out, she calls him too carefree, thinking that he isn't going to survive very long in this world. Kang just remains in his seat, listening to the girl's footsteps get quieter as she exits the classroom, leaving him alone. In his gym bag he has an earpiece and everything he needs. He thinks it would be best to change in the bathroom. He looks around, making sure he isn't being watched. He needs to be as inconspicuous as possible. The scene cuts to the port where the inhuman monster attack is taking place. A guy aggressively shifts his gear and slams on the accelerator, attempting to drive his truck right into this inhuman, a blue, oddly shaped creature. He yells out for it to die, smashing into the side of this blue inhuman. The attack definitely doesn't go as planned, and the inhuman is unfazed by the truck, not even moving an inch. The driver can't believe it and trembles. It did more damage to his truck than this beast. The inhuman raises its mighty fist in the air and brings it down, obliterating the truck and the driver inside like an insect. Nearby is another port worker in a green shirt hiding, shocked that it was able to destroy a whole truck. Next to him is a worker named Jae-gu, crying uncontrollably, scared that he is going to die. The green shirt guy tries to get Jae-gu to be quiet. They're trying to hide. Surely the military will be coming soon to save them. Unfortunately, Jae-gu's cries were too loud. The inhuman has found them and is lurking over the shipping container they are attempting to hide behind. Meanwhile, Kang is still at high school getting changed in the bathroom, communicating with Ju Rai via his earpiece. Ju Rai informs him to hurry as the situation at the port is pretty bad. He's going to give him live directions to help him get there. With the earpiece in his ear and his backpack hidden in the ceiling, Kang prepares to exit out of the bathroom window, revealing himself to be the white-capped superhuman from the video the students were watching. The port is 11 minutes away, but with his abilities and directions from Ju Rai, Kang is confident he can get there sooner. He leaps down from the window to start his journey. Back at the port, the green shirt guy and Jae-gu are face to face with the inhuman. The green shirt guy sweats, realizing that his only choice here is to stand and fight like a man. His bravery is soon crushed when the Inhuman takes him out with a single punch, sending him crashing backwards and killing him. The crybaby Jae-gu is killed next, with the Inhuman reaching its arm around, squashing him against the container like a fly. After those two have been dealt with, another port worker can be seen attempting to flee from the area. The Inhuman makes haste to catch up with the guy, landing right next to him with a single leap. The guy becomes statuesque, paralyzed by fear. He begs for mercy as the Inhuman wraps its beefy hand around his head like a basketball. He is flung across the port, smashing into one of the many shipping containers. Surprisingly, he doesn't die, though he's coughing up blood pretty badly. Plus, the Inhuman isn't finished with him yet and is approaching again, towering over the guy like a skyscraper. There's nothing that can be done. The guy is frozen, knowing he is helpless against such a creature. With its hand reaching for his head again, he is sure that he is about to die here. All of a sudden, a wrench is flung, smacking the Inhuman across the head. The blue beast turns around to see that the wrench was thrown by the port boss, trying bravely to save his employee from certain death. He insults the Inhuman by calling it a pig monster. Elsewhere, Kang is still making his way over to the port as fast as possible. Moving as fast as a plane, he's already halfway there. Ju-Rai informs him he just needs to go straight from here to arrive. He also has important news. The Inhuman Special Task Force are on their way to the location too. Since the strength of the Inhuman is still unknown, Ju-Rai advises Kang to be careful. With the port in sight, Kang keeps pushing forwards, hurtling through the land at great speeds. Back at the port, the boss yells out for his employee to run away while the Inhuman is distracted. The Inhuman's eyes are fixated on the boss, who thinks about how he could have ran away himself. But he didn't want to leave his useless fool of an employee behind. He thinks about his life and his family who he is going to miss. He's sure this is going to be the end for him. That's when the Inhuman casually starts walking away from the two men, who are confused. It looks like the creature is leaving, and they hope that he really is. However, the Inhuman stops walking at a shipping container, gripping it tightly within its grasp. It wasn't leaving and was just grabbing a weapon, tossing the shipping container directly at the boss, who can do nothing but watch as his life flashes before his eyes. That's when the white-capped superhuman comes into frame, arriving just on time to save them. Our main character kicks the shipping container, knocking it off trajectory and out of the way. The boss's mouth drops and he turns to stone, watching the white-capped superhuman come in from the right with a kick, sweeping straight past his face and to his left. The boss's eyes watch our main character like a tennis ball. Kang lands perfectly on the floor in a superhero pose, wearing his signature disguise, a white cap and black mask. Kang eyes up the Inhuman, who stares right back at him. They size each other up, with Kang cockily telling the Inhuman, "It's dangerous to throw stuff like that." Ju-Rai speaks into Kang's earpiece, asking if he is feeling nervous, but Kang is quiet, just staring at the giant beast in front of him. Eventually, he speaks back into his earpiece, asking if he should try to communicate with the Inhuman. We get a look at Ju-Rai, a pink head with a bandana sitting in front of his computer. He thinks it's pretty slim that the creature can communicate, but Kang should at least try. In fact, the two of them had a conversation about this in the past. They are animals that kill indiscriminately and deserve to be beaten to death, but he should still attempt to communicate with them, because on the off chance one can speak, they can ask questions to find out more about these Inhumans' objectives. Taking his friend's advice, Kang attempts to ask the Inhuman a question to see if it can understand what he is saying. Ju-Rai and Kang listen closely as the Inhuman starts to mumble and grunt unusually. These grumbles grow louder until they transform into a blood-curdling roar, revealing the beast's pearly whites. It then goes from the color blue to the color red as if powering up, pouncing forwards and attempting to smash Kang, who manages to dash out of the way. After that, the two of them lock eyes for a moment, until the now red Inhuman gets right back to smashing, slapping Kang straight into a nearby shipping container with great force. Kang bounces off this container, flying over the Inhuman to create more space between them. It's clear that talking didn't work, and this thing is much faster than it seems. Above the port flies a helicopter, its propeller howling with the wind. It's a news helicopter, with reporters hanging out the side trying to get a good view of the scene. The reporter addresses her viewers. She is reporting live from 600 meters in the air. It's an unbelievable sight, with the white-capped superhuman appearing to fight. That's not all. The Inhuman Special Task Force have also arrived on the scene. They step out of vehicles with the captain ordering them to keep their weapons on standby. They are not allowed to open fire. The entrance to the port is too narrow for the tanks and rail guns to enter. The captain says it doesn't matter. prompting one of his men to question this, asking how they are going to execute their capture plan without the tanks and railguns. The captain explains that those weapons are useless anyway. An Inhuman isn't something that can be taken out with such things. The power of Inhumans and superhumans has been analyzed by intelligence agencies, and the white-cap superhuman's strength far exceeds the military's. In other words, if the white-cap superhuman can't beat this thing, then there is nothing that they will be able to do. The Solider is confused. Why are they even here if they can't even do anything? The image zooms in on one of the trucks that came with the military, and inside we see a muscular man with a robotic arm, sitting calmly in the back. The captain replies to the concerned soldier saying that, "Even guys like us have a plan B." Kang looks up, noticing the news helicopter in the air that is broadcasting this whole fight to the world. People from everywhere watch closely on billboards in the street and televisions in their homes. The white-cap superhuman is going toe-to-toe against an Inhuman. He might be veiled in mystery, but it's clear that he is fighting for humanity's safety. Unfortunately, it currently looks like he is losing this fight. Kang is running away from this super-fast Inhuman. This is why you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. He thinks he's making good distance until the beast throws a punch that smashes the container behind. Luckily, Kang dodged by jumping up in the air, otherwise that container would have been his face. With the creature's arm stuck in the shipping container, and with Kang having the high ground, he comes speeding back to the floor ready to deliver a devastating punch. However, the Inhuman starts acting strangely, puckering its lips and puffing its cheeks out, looking like an overweight chipmunk. It uses a ranged attack, shooting a long tongue out of its mouth which narrowly misses Kang's head. Although it didn't do damage, it was enough to knock Kang off balance. The Inhuman manages to get its arm free, grabbing Kang's leg and throwing him across the port. He bounces along the floor until he smashes right into another shipping container. There's probably going to be a whole lot of people with late deliveries after this fight. The soldiers turn to their captain after seeing the white-capped superhuman get annihilated like that. The captain appears nervous, though he remembers their mission. Their mission is to help the superhuman without getting in his way. The captain calls out to the nearby truck, initiating Plan B. All of a sudden, the back of the truck bursts open and grabs everyone's attention. The man with the robotic arm climbs out and does a backflip, landing perfectly on top of the truck. Within his robotic arm is a strange weapon. It's like a sniper rifle but with some high-tech barrel. The guy looks down the scope, with one of his eyes a red color. He doesn't hesitate, firing a bullet that flies through the air towards its target. The ugly Inhuman that is no longer red and has gone back to being blue. The shot smacks it right in his head, causing it to fall backwards onto the floor, laying there motionless for a short while. The man and the captain watch closely. It was a perfect headshot. Despite this, the Inhuman begins getting up off the ground, turning back to red. That bullet dented its head, and it does not look happy about it. It starts heading towards the military and the captain has a worried expression. Sweating badly, the man racks his weapon, preparing himself to fire another shot. He aims and pulls the trigger right away, smacking the Inhuman in the face with another round. He doesn't stop there, unloading another bullet which also hits its target. The beast is large and continues marching forwards towards the military, getting hit with bullet after bullet continuously, though they do nothing as it gets closer and closer. Once again, the man racks his weapon and goes to fire another shot. However, he hears something off in the distance that grabs his attention. He lowers his weapon to get a better look. The Inhuman can also hear this noise and has also been distracted by it. It's coming from the blue shipping container that our main character was flung inside. It's Kang who stumbles out after recovering from that blow. He's glad he was thrown inside here, or else he would have ended up in the sea. Ju-Rai lets out a sigh of relief over the earpiece, happy that his friend is still alive. It's clear that this enemy is another dud. Either they lack the ability to speak or they don't intend to. Kang brushes his shoulder, agreeing. They're not going to get anywhere trying to communicate with this thing. Oh well, it looks like Kang is just going to have to crush this thing using all of his might. He marches forwards with the Inhuman looking back at him, startled that he is still alive after getting his butt whooped earlier. Kang's slow march turns into a quick dash to the side, speeding up until he becomes a blur, leaving the Inhuman baffled and unable to keep track of his movements. He comes in with an attack, raising his boot into the air and kicking it down, completely deforming the creature's face into something even more vulgar than before. He follows this up by flattening his palm and thrusting it forwards, forcing it into the Inhuman's mouth before it even has chance to recover from the kick. With great force, he uses this beast's mouth as a handle, flipping it over and slamming it into the ground, creating a shockwave that spreads across the whole port. The blast blocks everyone's vision with them covering their faces and waiting for the dust to clear. When it does, they see the white-capped superhuman standing up, with the inhuman seemingly defeated. The people watching, many of whom being Kang's classmates, all have gobsmacked expressions, with mouths hanging wide and eyes bulging. The news reporter states that things aren't clear to her right now, but she thinks the Inhuman was defeated by that earthquake that our main character caused, though she audibly gasps upon seeing the creature's body twitching on the ground, signaling that it isn't dead yet. It groans, attempting to pick itself back up, but it eventually gives up, collapsing back onto the floor with a loud echoing thud. Kang watches it closely to make sure it's finished, with a camera above his mask allowing Ju-Rai to get a good look too. He thought it was going to get back up, but surely it's dead now. Kang confirms that it should be. He felt its brain exploding with the final attack. Even if it does decide to get back up, he will have no trouble pummeling it to death again. With the fight over the two, compare this to some of Kang's other fights. It definitely wasn't stronger than the last one, he thought. A scaly looking dude on a nearby island. He really had a rough time with that guy. Meanwhile, a guy with white hair and a black hat has been watching the scene from up above, sitting on a shipping container. He prefers watching fights live, and just as rumored, he can tell that the white-capped superhuman is one ruthless rascal. It didn't even seem like he used all of his strength. Behind this white-haired guy is someone else, wearing a pink robe with their face covered. He tells this person that he will be right back, jumping off the shipping container and landing behind our main character. Kang immediately turns around to see what is going on, noticing the guy has long white hair, red earrings, a red necklace, and is heavily tattooed. Kang glares at this man, calmly but sternly asking who he is. The guy chuckles, commenting on how our main character has a pretty scary stare. We can see he also has red beads on his chin and face tattoos, looking like a wannabe rapper. Ju-Rai can see this guy through a camera too and is also curious as to his identity. Kang looks up to where the guy jumped down from, noticing the other person in the pink robe. The little we can see of this person shows they have a feminine appearance with a tattoo under their left eye. The news reporter is still broadcasting from the helicopter, telling viewers about the mysterious man that has just appeared in front of the white-capped superhuman, and how the two of them seem to be communicating, though she can't tell what they are talking about. All over, people are still watching, wondering if these two are about to fight. The military are just as confused as everyone else, with no clue what is going on. It's an unexpected situation and there is nothing they can do about it. The captain orders his men to keep their guards up until Whitecap leaves. The man with the robotic arm has his sniper lowered, following the orders of the captain. The mysterious man compliments our main character's fight. It's a shame it ended so soon. It was enjoyable, flashy, and explosive, reminding the guy of Ketchup Man. Ketchup Man is a famous superhero from a television show titled The Unyielding Ketchup Man. Kang is a huge fan of Ketchup Man, and starts blushing after being compared to such an icon. Ju-Rai yells some sense down his ear. This isn't the time to be blushing. They need to find out this guy's identity. Kang might not be very good at reading people, but Ju-Rai can tell that this guy is definitely dangerous. He starts speaking, explaining that he has been keeping a close eye on our main character through television broadcasts, social networks, streams, and more. Whenever there was an alert, the white-capped superhuman appeared no matter what. The mysterious man explains that he came here today because there is something he needed to do. He didn't come to see Kang, and the meeting here was just a coincidence, though he admits watching the fight was fun. He says he isn't going to harm Kang in any way. However, Kang is still suspicious, not believing anything this guy says. Ju-Rai is inside his ear, reminding him what happened the last time he trusted a stranger. Two men in suits approached him acting friendly, and upon getting close they shot him with tasers. This could be a similar situation to them, so Ju-Rai advises Kang to get out of there right now. Since the guy can tell he isn't coming off as very trustworthy, he decides to reveal a secret about himself. Just like our main character, he is also a superhuman. And he isn't the only other one in Korea. There are many more just like the two of them. People that defy logic and are stronger than can even be imagined. Hearing this over the earpiece surprises Ju-Rai. There are only 2 verified superhumans in America and Europe, but Korea only has 1 verified. The white-capped man, Kang. Kang replies to the mysterious man. He doesn't care if he is a superhuman or not. He tells the guy not to follow him and starts walking away, having had enough. The man chuckles, calling out Kang for leaving when he hasn't done speaking. But Kang isn't bothered in the slightest. He's hungry and has more important stuff to do. In that case, the guy suggests he visits Kang's school later and they can talk there. This immediately grabs the attention of Kang, who stops walking away and turns around, wondering if this guy really knows his actual identity. The man smiles so widely his eyes close. He knows our main character is a student when he isn't wearing his mask. Kang's world spins and his mouth hangs open, not knowing what to say. Ju-rai has a similar reaction, sweating like crazy trying to think how this guy could possibly know that. The guy can see that Kang is shocked. He tells him not to worry, promising to keep it a secret. The guy also reveals that he knows the identity of the pink-haired dude behind the earpiece. Ju-rai is very skilled, being capable of creating all kinds of equipment. The mysterious man thinks he is a genius with huge potential. He had to seriously resist the urge to kidnap the boy while spying on him. He jokes, threateningly saying he is going to pay that pink-haired guy a visit while Kang is at school. Kang isn't going to have anyone threatening to harm his friend like that. He steps forward while rubbing his hands and Ju-rai can see that he is getting ready to fight. Kang considers Ju-rai to be his one and only family. He's going to make sure this punk never spies on him again. The mysterious man didn't expect him to get this mad. He insists that he isn't an enemy and that the two of them can continue to talk without hostility. But Kang doesn't care about talking. The man sees that his talking is getting him nowhere and that it can't be helped. It looks like they really are going to have to fight. Kang dashes of the ground and charges forward, with his fists clenched and gaze fixated on his opponent. Ju-rai appears worried, whereas the guy appears unbothered. The military certainly weren't expecting a fight to happen, watching closely in anticipation. When close enough, Kang draws back his fist ready to unleash a punch. Despite him using his superhuman strength, the guy is able to block, stretching out both of his hands and casually placing them in front of the blow. Kang has never had something like this happen to him before. He angrily knocks the hands away before attempting another attack by swinging his fist sloppily. His eyes grow wide upon seeing that once again his strike has done nothing. The guy casually sits atop his arm like a bird, calling Kang a tsundere. He was talking like a killer, yet those punches were weak, like he wasn't even trying to do damage. The guy jumps off his arm, landing back onto the ground. If Kang wants to keep fighting, he says he shouldn't hold back. They are both superhumans, so if he doesn't want to die, then he should come forward with all of his might. If he's being honest, the guy would rather not fight though, because once they get started, they won't be able to stop until everything around them has been destroyed. Kang knows he is right, and so does Ju-rai. It's not about winning or losing. There is nothing to gain from fighting. Although it's annoying that he knows both of their identities, it's not worth it. Kang has never faced another superhuman before, so who knows what could happen. The guy can see that Kang is calming down and that it doesn't seem like he wants to fight anymore. He gets ready to leave, assuring Kang that the two of them will meet again soon. However, Kang calls out for him to stop. He wants the guy's name and he isn't going to let him leave unless he gives it. There's a moment of silence, but in the end the guy reveals his name to be Nangi. After this, the person in the pink cloak jumps down to the ground, and their name is revealed to be Dan Yong. Dan Yong offers to take a look at Nangi's arms, assuming they must be hurt from the punch he blocked earlier. However, Nangi just laughs, saying that his arms are fine and that they should get out of here. The two leap away, leaving Kang standing alone. It's eerily quiet when only moments ago there was a chance of a superhuman fight erupting. People watching around the world seem annoyed that the fight didn't take place. A trio of people who seem to be superhumans from America, and two people in suits from elsewhere in the world. They were waiting patiently to see a fight and are disappointed that it didn't happen. Back at the port, Kang hears someone calling out to him. It's the two port workers that stayed behind and waited, wanting to express their gratitude. They were saved when Kang first arrived on the scene, kicking the container out of their way. They were for sure goners and would like to repay Kang for saving them, offering to take him for stew. Kang says no, they don't need to repay him in any way. In an instant he shoots off the ground and into the air, leaving the port after taking out the Inhuman and saving the city. The military notice our main character leaving, and assume that that must mean the coast is clear. The captain orders his men to send in the corpse recovery team to collect the body of that blue Inhuman. Meanwhile, the guy with the robotic arm is analyzing the bullets he was using. The problem isn't the shape of the bullet nor its weight. Using different gunpowder doesn't change much either. He was using an extremely high caliber rifle with the best armor-piercing rounds, yet it did nothing, and was no different than an ordinary rifle. He angrily crushes the bullet, stating that he can't do anything with a toy like this. The captain understands, promising to pass that message on to the team of weapon researchers. At this moment, the captain's phone starts ringing, and taking a look he can see that it is his commander. He answers the call and begins giving a brief of what happened and the current situation. A white-capped superhuman just left the scene and the Inhuman has been taken care of. The commander, Oh-jin, scolds the captain for not phoning him first. He had orders to report the incident to him as soon as it was over. Oh-jin continues, explaining that the most important part of this mission is ensuring the safe transportation of the inhuman corpse. Commander Oh-jin has already dealt with the paperwork. All the captain needs to do is safely put the corpse inside the transport vehicle. The captain is already on it, and the corpse is almost on board. Happy to hear this, the commander hangs up. The mission will be considered over as soon as they exit the port. After this call, Commander Oh-jin immediately makes another one to someone else. The person on the other side asks if this call is urgent, to which the commander says it isn't. He just wanted to give a report on the situation. There were 14 dead casualties and 2 in critical condition at the port. The guy he's talking to stops him there. He doesn't care about the casualties and just wants a brief summary. The guy is wearing a suit with a green tie, with an assistant next to him fixing his watch. He's happy to hear the inhuman corpse is heading his way, and will be arriving in the Falcon area tomorrow night. He's in a rush and needs to give a speech, so he hangs up on the commander, warning him not to waste his time with useless rubbish in the future. After hanging up, the guy fixes his tie, complaining to his assistant that the commander kept rambling on about casualties. He already feels like gagging, and now he has to go and give a speech in front of these dirty peasants. The guy steps on stage as people in the audience chant out his name. He puts on a friendly face, and the people refer to him as the hope of the new generation, the forerunner of a peaceful world and a revolutionary future. This scumbag's name is Marcus Gerald. At the port, the corpse is loaded and the men prepare for takeoff, leaving immediately after the corpse was placed inside without wasting a second. One of the soldiers on the ground asks the captain if that transport vehicle is a part of the Inhuman Special Task Force. The captain explains that it isn't, and for his men to not ask any questions as they don't need to know the answers. It is revealed that Nangi is still at the port watching the transport leave. It's just as he expected. With his arms folded, he assumes that transport must be heading to the Falcon area. The scene cuts to New York City, where Ketchup Man has a blue-haired villain by the neck, demanding to know the location of a secret base. But the villain is being choked so hard that he can't even get his words out to answer the question. No answer makes Ketchup Man angry, so he throws the villain across the city. The villain's free flight comes to a stop when he crashes into a building. However, his beating isn't yet finished, with Ketchup Man coming in with his fist to deliver an unyielding ketchup smash attack. The villain begs for mercy as the attack lands right in his stomach. Bits of rubble fly into the air, along with blood and phlegm. Ketchup Man calls the villain a wuss that wasn't even a tenth of his full power. After saving the day, Ketchup Man declares that for as long as he is standing, no one may threaten Earth. The civilians below cheer and celebrate, complimenting Ketchup Man's physique and skill. The battle was even recorded by news reporters, talking about how Ketchup Man saved them and how he really is Earth's hope. The hero of this age, with the letter K drawn onto his perfectly sculpted cheeks, double-cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon. That's the end of this week's episode of The Unyielding Ketchup Man. It is being played on the television and being watched by Kang, who doesn't know how he's going to wait until next week for another episode. Ju-rai, who was sleeping next to him, starts to wake up, surprised that Kang is awake so early after fighting that monster yesterday. Kang replies that he woke up early just to watch the premiere. It was an amazing episode today. Kang really is a super fan of Ketchup Man, and he is still flustered that Nangi compared the two of them yesterday. Ju-rai then remembers that school isn't cancelled today and is open again, reminding Kang, who zooms off having forgotten completely, not even bothering to close the door on his way out. During his journey to school, Kang is walking down the street when he hears other students talking about the White Cap Man, talking about how he got owned when the white-haired guy easily blocked his punch yesterday. Hearing this slander, one of the students sticks up for White Cap Man. He's a hero and no one else is going to fight those monsters when they show up again. He's the only one that risks his life, fighting against those Inhumans that keep appearing. However, the other student continues with his slander, saying that he heard White Cap is just a cyborg that was created by the military. This prompts the two students to almost get into a fight with one another, with one of them drawing his fist back ready to deliver a punch. But when he does this, he accidentally elbows a big guy with a blonde mohawk in the stomach. The big guy is a bully named Taek, threatening to beat the student up for elbowing him like that. How dare they piss him off this early, first thing in the morning. The bully takes his eyes off the students and looks up, noticing our main character staring at him. He yells at Kang, asking if he is really glaring at him right now. The students today must have really gone nuts. Kang just turns his head and keeps walking, apologizing and not wanting to get into a confrontation. Taek continues walking, pushing past everyone. He's going to remember all their faces, and if they bother him again he is going to dig their eyes out. One of the students is terrified, reminding the other of who exactly that bully is. He's a member of the Gundu gang, a gang that was created at a nearby middle school by a student named Gundu. It's full of guys who are good fighters, with strength beyond that of an average high schooler. Most of the gang have started to come to this high school, and that bully just now is Taeyik, their captain. The other student realizes the gravity of the situation. They really pissed off someone like that. He had no idea a gang like that had come here. While walking into school, they decide they are going to try to keep clear of that guy as much as possible, just acting like flies on the wall. In class 3, the black-haired female student from yesterday is woken from her nap with a bandage on her cheek. She is woken by another female student who scolds her for sleeping first thing in the morning. Also for boxing, it's not good to keep getting face bruises like this. The black-haired student doesn't like being told what to do, saying that the other student, whose name is Jinju, is not her mother. Jinju seems upset by this comment until they are interrupted by Kang, who enters the classroom and heads right over to his seat. Jinju calls out to him, pointing out that his fly is open. Both Kang and the black-haired student, whose name is Muhi, look down to see that it really is. As Kang embarrassingly struggles to pull it up, Jinju leaves as she is in a different class to them. Before she leaves, Muhi tells her she stinks of cigarettes and that she should stop hanging around with those stupid guys. Jinju gives Muhi a taste of her own medicine, saying she should stop pestering as she isn't her mother. She'll quit smoking the day that Muhi quits boxing. Muhi isn't amused, but gets distracted when she notices Kang still struggling to close his fly. It's stuck and he can't seem to get it up. She smiles, going back to leaning on her desk and thinking that our main character is an idiot. Elsewhere, in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, a lone boat is sailing in the open water. It's quiet, until a splash occurs in the water nearby. A man in the boat hears this, looking overboard curious as to what it could be. With a chin that could chop wood, he's certain he heard something. Upon getting a closer look, he sees an unusual black mass floating in the water, which only piques his interest more. We get a flashback. 5 minutes ago on the same boat, the Chin guy noticed the penguin doll and asked his fellow fisherman why it was here. The fisherman explained that it's his daughter's birthday today, and they were selling the penguins for cheap at the port. She has dreams of going to Antarctica to find penguins when she grows up, so it's the perfect gift. His shift is over at lunch and he will be heading straight home to see her. She's always complaining that she never gets to see her father. The Chin guy finds this amusing. Time really does fly by. It feels like it goes by even faster while watching kids grow. Now that he thinks about it, Chin guy doesn't think he's ever bought his own daughter a proper gift. The fisherman suggests he get her a doll, but Chin guy thinks she is too old for such a thing. That's when the splash occurred in the water and the Chin guy peered over the ledge to get a better look. While this is happening, the fisherman continues to ramble about dolls and his daughter, completely ignoring Chin guy's concern for the thing in the water. Suddenly, the water starts to rise high into the air, and out bursts a giant arm and hand. It crashes down onto the boat, causing significant damage and grabbing the attention of the fisherman, who clings onto a ledge desperately. After the boat has steadied and calmed down, he goes to check out what just happened, only to become shocked seeing that Chin guy has been killed by a blue inhuman. Oddly shaped, with a fish-like head but with arms and legs like a human. Rest in peace to the big Chin guy. Meanwhile, in Kang's class, the professor is giving a lecture about inhumans. Public fear is at an all-time high with 3 appearances in just 1 year. He draws a diagram of one of these beasts on the board. These dangerous beings currently live among them, and they don't know when or where they will appear. So Professor Chang-sik thinks it would be best if he gave a brief presentation about them today. It's not on the curriculum, but he thinks they would benefit from having some knowledge about these beasts. An inhuman, exactly as the name says, is a species that isn't human. As for what is known about inhumans so far, they possess unreal strength and can destroy a truck or tank in one hit. With the dexterity to dash at speeds of 125 miles per hour, they're truly superpowered monsters. They instinctively try to murder humans. Unless you have come face to face with one, it's hard to even fathom how terrifying they are. The United Nations recently announced that in the past 5 years there have been a total of 37 cases of inhuman appearances, and to date there have been a total of 517 deaths. Among them, Korea alone has had a total of 6 inhuman incidents. If you include the one that occurred yesterday at the port, that makes it 7. There were 14 fatalities at the port, which Professor Chang-sik considers a complete tragedy. Among these 7 incidents in Korea, the White Cap Man has appeared in the last 5 to save the day. With the appearance of mysterious monsters, and now the appearance of superhumans, many theories and rumors have been floating around. But these theories are all baseless, and experts say that they are completely veiled in secrets. The white-capped superhuman came out of nowhere, and people have started to put their hope into this unknown person. But it's the two inhuman incidents that occurred before his appearance that are the most interesting. The very first incident occurred in 2015, alerting everyone of the existence of these beasts. 15 people died that day until the Inhuman was mysteriously defeated by someone. No one knows who or what. The second incident occurred a year later where 75 died and over 100 were injured, caused by a powerful Inhuman named Heptahorn, considered the first undefeated creature. Heptahorn, a name given for the beast's 7 horns. It's an Inhuman that many believe is still alive somewhere today. According to witnesses, when a ton of people were dying at the hands of Heptahorn, a large long-haired man appeared and the two battled. But suddenly the large long-haired man was nowhere to be found, and the Heptahorn slowly disappeared into the sky alive. What happened that day is considered a terrible, unresolved incident, one that has been investigated and analyzed by experts and government officials for some time. Their theory is that the long-haired guy was a superhuman, but he was murdered during battle with the Heptahorn. Though he managed to injure the Heptahorn badly, so it went into hiding to heal. Many fear the Heptahorn will return, and so an alert system has been created worldwide, warning citizens whenever an Inhuman appears so that they can get to safety as soon as possible. A special squad within the military was also created, the Inhuman Special Task Force. Anyway, the most important concern right now is all the unanswered questions. Who is the long-haired guy that stopped the Heptahorn? And did he really die that day? If he really is dead, what happened to the super dangerous Heptahorn that supposedly killed him, and why hasn't it reappeared? Also, the strange white-capped superhuman that appeared during this time, what could his identity be? And is he related to all of this? The real big question that everyone wants answered is where exactly did these Inhumans come from? After rambling for a while, Professor Chang-sik looks at all of his students who have rudely all fallen asleep during his lecture. The bell is about to ring, so he slams on his desk to wake them all up, saying one last thing. Just because this stuff won't be on a test doesn't mean they can just sleep. There are more important things than studying or tests. He encourages the students to show a deep interest in what is happening in the current society, as it will be their future. They should just read textbooks or play games. They should have more interest in the world. Professor Chang-sik grabs his things and leaves, telling everyone he will see them in the next class. Not long later, the professor is in his car on the phone with his wife. It's the anniversary of his son's death, so he is in a rush to get back quickly. He looks 2 photos on his dashboard, both of his son whom he loved very much. He starts crying at the steering wheel, thinking about how he needs to go and visit his son on the anniversary of his death, so that he can pray that his son doesn't meet any monsters in heaven. Back on the boat in the Atlantic Ocean, the Inhuman looks over to the fisherman that can't believe his big chin friend was just killed. The fisherman rushes inside, grabbing his radio and hitting an emergency button in an attempt to call for help. Someone appears on the other line and he quickly attempts to give them his coordinates. However, the Inhuman grabs a hold of his head with one hand and drags it back outside. His face is now a complete mess and he is being held up by the creature. Still clinging to life, he begs for someone to save him. The people on the other side of the radio are still trying to communicate to find out more, but they don't get a response. It's a cruise ship, where tons of people are having fun, lounging, relaxing, and playing in the pool. This cruise ship goes by the name, the SS Opera. Within the control center, the workers are freaking out, explaining to the captain that they received an emergency transmission from a fishing boat. It's 10 nautical miles away in the opposite direction, and will take 25 minutes to get there. The captain orders his men to change course now. They need to get there fast and prepare for a quick rescue. Meanwhile, on the fishing boat, we see the toy penguin alongside the 2 fishermen who are now both dead. However, by the looks of things, the Inhuman has transformed itself into a human, waiting patiently to be picked up by the incoming cruise ship. It's lunchtime at Kang's high school, where a chubby blonde kid is complaining about being hungry. His mom hasn't been giving him much food because of his weight. His black-haired friend doesn't care. He's more annoyed that there aren't any cute girls in their class. The black-haired student is named Chang Ryol, whereas his chubby friend is named Daebang. Daebang thinks they were actually quite lucky with the class they were put in. Some of the other classes are living through hell. They are in class 3 along with our main character. Most of the Gundu gang are in the higher numbered classes, so they lucked out. Though not entirely, as there is one member of the gang in their class, a lackey named Duke Gun, who likes to act like a big shot. Daebang instructs his friend to stop staring as they don't want to cause any problems. But Chang Ryol notices someone else that is in their class. Standing behind the lackey is a tall guy named Kwon Chol. someone really strong who would easily be able to take care of the Gundu gang. The only problem is that he hates being a bully and fighting. They only saw Kwon Chul fight once during middle school, and he completely disintegrated his opponent. If only he wasn't such a quiet guy, he would be able to defend the other students from that stupid gang. Chang Ryle and Daebang get their food, with Daebang asking the lunch lady for an extra serving of spicy pork because he is just so hungry. The lunch lady is happy to give extra, anything for her precious kids. Daebang is extremely grateful until Chang Ryle kicks him in his side, telling him to hurry up and get a move on. Bro is holding up the line for his spicy pork. Elsewhere in the cafeteria, Kang is chomping down on his food like a wild animal, when another student interrupts him, attempting to sit in the seat alongside him. It turns out to be the big guy Kwon Chul, who the students were just gossiping about. He noticed Kang always eats alone, which is something he does a lot too, since he doesn't have any friends in the class. He notices that Kang doesn't seem to have any friends in class either. Hearing this, Kang immediately thinks of his friend Ju Rai. Not wanting to bring him up, Kang just says that it's true, he doesn't have any friends either. Kwon Chul looks at Kang's arms, commenting that he has a pretty good physique. Kang awkwardly says that it's because he self-learns taekwondo in his spare time. Though Kwon Chul finds our main character unusual, he suggests they be friends and eat together from now on. At this moment, a kid is flung across the cafeteria violently, passing right by them. He skids against the floor, creating a squeaking sound. It's all the bullies from the higher class numbers that have arrived, pushing everyone out of the way. Taeik is leading the Gundu gang, cutting through the line without anyone being able to say anything. The students eating are watching closely, especially Kwon Chul, who seems unimpressed with their aggression and attitudes. Taeik is furious, seriously struggling to keep his anger in check recently. He decides that he is going to take a quick look around, beating up the first 5 guys that he doesn't like the look of. While this is happening, in the USA, the Secretary of Defense is waiting for some important guests to arrive. Seemingly stressed and feeling hopeless about something, this stress is eased a little when the guests he is waiting for arrive. 2 American superhumans, a female named Saint Pearl, and a man named Galen Withrow. A man named James is working alongside the Secretary of Defense, informing Pearl of an unbelievable worst-case scenario that has just occurred. A cruise ship named SS Opera, containing 3,000 people, has just been attacked by an inhuman in the middle of the ocean. Pearl and Galen realize how bad this is. If that's true, then all the people on board the cruise ship are trapped like rats. James agrees. It's an extreme scenario where the clock is ticking. Pearl insists they leave right away then. She can be filled in on the details during the journey. James is going with them, and there is a helicopter prepared on the roof. The Secretary of Defense has been sitting quietly. He doesn't have anything to say and wishes them a safe mission. They leave the room, closing the door behind them. Now alone, the Secretary of the Defense sighs deeply. His lips dried out just from being in the same room as those beings. Those were the superhumans he has heard so much about. Elsewhere in an abandoned building is Nam-gi and Dan Yong. The media has been going nuts since they met with our main character. Everyone has started researching them, with someone even putting a bounty on their head. Nam-gi laughs, jokingly saying they should go and pay whoever put this bounty up a visit. But Dan Yong isn't in the mood, unhappy that they revealed themselves to the whole world during a live broadcast like that. Nam-gi assures Dan Yong that he has his reasons for wanting to reveal himself to everyone. Things are getting far too interesting, and soon the world will fall into chaos. He wants to get involved and has been thinking deeply about what side will be more fun for him to join. After all, a game is only fun if it is balanced. Pearl has made it to the roof and is boarding the helicopter, followed by Galen and James. As an ordinary human, James feels as though he is heading to his funeral. He's about to tell Pearl and Galen to put their seat belts on, but remembers who he is speaking to, and that they don't need to if they don't want to. The doors slam shut, and the pilot prepares to take off. The helicopter propeller creates a racket and a bunch of strong winds. This is the first time they have gone to the middle of the ocean for an inhuman incident. This is the fastest helicopter in America. The journey is about 500 miles, taking an estimated time of around 2 hours. In that time, James is going to explain the situation in more detail. Today at 4 p.m., there was an emergency message sent to a Navy base located in the coast of Virginia. The message just said that there was a ship under attack. They soon learned that this ship was the cruise ship, with 2,500 passengers and 500 crew on board. The SS Opera is an international resort cruise that travels back and forth between America and Britain. It's unclear what the damage is on board, but even the Navy have realized the gravity of this situation. James explains that since Pearl and Galen were taking too long to answer their call, the Inhuman Special Task Force and the Navy were deployed in the meantime. 5 squadrons were sent to the scene, comprised of the Special Task Force and the Underwater Demolition Team. Pearl is listening closely, asking what happened to these guys, are they still in combat? James reveals that they arrived on the scene at 8 p.m. and within 20 minutes all communication had been lost with them. As unbelievable as it is, judging by the situation, it's incredibly likely that all 5 squads that were deployed are dead. James sweats nervously. There's actually an even bigger problem than that. The cruise ship is currently on autopilot. At this rate it will arrive in Florida as programmed. If it arrives, they will essentially be letting an Inhuman loose on land. Due to this, the deployment of F-40 fighter jets has been approved, equipped with miniature nuclear missiles. These jets have been given the order to blow up the cruise ship in the ocean before it can reach land. Pearl and Galen think the government must have gone crazy to do such a thing. However, in a situation like this, the government thought it would be the best course of action. No one knows what's going on, or how many survivors there are. With no information, they didn't feel as though they had any other choice. James trembles in fear, so Pearl tells him to calm down. He doesn't need to be so pessimistic anymore, because she is here and she will handle the situation. In Korea, Tae-ik is still angry and wanting to beat people up. He declares he will beat up the first 5 people he doesn't like the look of, starting with some chump on the ground. Tae-ik wanted to get some food, but this guy was blocking the way, completely ruining his mood. He's about to lay into the poor student until he hears a voice yelling out at him in anger. It's Muhi, who marches over to the bullies, demanding that they stop what they are doing right now. Tae-ik can't believe his own ears, turning around to see if he heard right. Muhi repeats herself, also insulting the bully in the process. The students are all gobsmacked, seeing a girl stand up to such a big guy. Kang and Kwon-chul have similar expressions, with Kang's mouth stuffed full of food. Muhi holds her ground, maintaining eye contact with the scumbag, even surprising her friend Jinju. Tae-ik tosses the kid he was bullying to the side, instead turning his attention to the bold girl that has decided to confront him. They must have put something in the food today or something. He warns Muhi that he is a real scumbag that doesn't even hold back against girls. When she keeps running her mouth, he raises his hand in an attempt to slap her. However, someone appears out of nowhere, grabbing his arm to stop him. It's Kwon-chul, who is uncomfortable with the atmosphere here. How is he supposed to attend school like this? He insultingly calls Tae-ik a giant freak, scum that thinks he can do whatever he likes. The eyes of Chang Ryul and Dae-bang grow wide, seeing that Kwon-chul is about to fight with the gang. Tae-ik lets out a frustrated sigh, turning around and delivering a powerful kick towards Kwon-chul, asking if he has lost his mind. Despite using his full force, Kwon-chul blocks and still remains on his feet. He looks up like some kind of superhero, once again throwing insulting words at the bully. The spectators are practically drooling, seeing someone stand up to the bullies, showing them who's boss. Kwon-chul responds to that attack with a kick of his own that lands perfectly, and while the bully Tae-ik is recovering from said kick, he comes in with a punch, smacking the bully on his right cheek. Even the other bullies don't know what to do. This is not how they expected the situation to go down. With a bloodied face, Tae-ik's skin erupts in wrinkles as his expression turns sinister. He spits out some blood. He can see that Kwon-chul is not some average student. But either way, he's dead meat. He shouldn't beg for mercy as he isn't going to get any. The situation is interrupted when another leader of the Gun-do gang enters, saying that's enough. They shouldn't be fighting so much before noon. The guy's name is Gung-moo, with the nickname Radish Head. He's an extremely ugly guy, and one of the 3 heads of the Gun-do gang. A teacher is on their way, so he advises Tae-ik to call this fight quits now. Bro looks like he ate an entire teacher for breakfast this morning. He's the biggest dude among the 3 heads of the gang. Though he's technically ranked last, he's the most ruthless and isn't someone to mess with. He walks away from the scene, taking Tae-ik with him. While leaving, the Radish Head tells Kwon-chul that he crossed the line today. Being so brazen like that, he should watch his back in the future, as the gang will likely be paying him a visit soon. Kwon-chul doesn't say anything and watches the bullies leave. The atmosphere in the cafeteria turns somewhat back to normal, with Kang wiping his mouth after finishing eating. He lets out a violent burp that shakes the room and echoes around, a sound that worries all the students as they think it was an earthquake or something. In the Atlantic Ocean, the helicopter has arrived on the scene of the Inhuman attack. It looks gloomy down there, and James offers to take the superhumans lower to the ground. They refuse, telling him this is fine and to just open the door. With the door open, they prepare to jump, with James handing them an earpiece to communicate with. It's activated through biometrics, so as long as nothing happens to the superhumans, then they will be able to stay in contact. Pearl stands over the cruise ship, getting ready to jump first. Before she does, she tells James to contact the higher-ups. Since they have arrived on the scene now, they should send back those nukes. James promises to do that after they have jumped. Saluting them, he wishes them the best of luck down there. The superhumans make the jump. First Pearl, followed by Galen shortly after. With a thud, they land on the cruise ship's helicopter pad. The place is an absolute mess, an insta kill from a large impact. Clearly this was done by an inhuman. Pearl is sure of it since everyone here has been pummeled to death. While they discuss things on deck, a beady eye secretly watches them from above. It's the inhuman, surrounded by the blood and bodies he has left on his path of destruction. James is still up above, acting as eyes for the team, using a computer to analyze the ship. This cruise ship is extremely large and each floor has a different layout, meaning it's easy to get lost. And the inhuman is going to be hard to find. The superhumans wonder if it will show up if they make a ruckus. But everyone quickly realizes they will have to split up to cover more distance quicker. James suggests they split up between the upper and lower levels of the ship. One of them should head forwards towards the engine room, and the other should head below to the cargo area. From here, the one on the top floor can move down, and the one on the bottom floor can move up, looking for any survivors and defeating the inhuman if they spot it. The only downside to this plan is that they will likely bump into the inhuman alone and have to fight it one-on-one. It's their best option though. They need to move quickly in case there really are survivors. Galen volunteers to take the upper level, leaving Pearl with the lower level to search. The two say their goodbyes as Pearl leaps off the side of the ship, looking like she is about to land in the ocean. However, she punches the side of the ship, grabbing on once she is low enough. She's sure the cargo department should be around this area somewhere. With a swing and a kick, she breaks inside, blowing a hole in the side of the ship in the process. She recovers and looks around, informing the others via earpiece that she is inside. There's a lot of cargo all piled up, just boxes and boxes stacked all over. James informs her she is in the right place, asking how the situation is down there. It's hard for Pearl to say as she doesn't see any people. There are no bodies, and everything here looks completely normal. She will have to keep looking around for more. James assumes the lower floors must have been unaffected by the attack, turning his attention to Galen, who hasn't found much either. Since the entrance he has only found corpses, nothing else. He's been through the bridge, the control room, even the information center. There are only dead people around. It's like looking at literal hell. The creature really isn't showing itself, almost as if it is playing hide and seek. All of a sudden the earpieces start malfunctioning and breaking up, making a crackling and static sound that is not pleasant for the ears. James doesn't know why this is happening when they aren't even that far away. There's no helping it though, they need to keep moving. Judging by their current location, James suspects they must have entered the Bermuda Triangle, which is causing these effects. This is problematic as communication is essential, especially since they are split up. While searching, Galen hears a survivor mumbling off to his side, saying that his wife was a monster that deceived him. Galen immediately tries to help the guy, telling James that he has managed to find a survivor. However, the guy is rambling like a madman, and communications still aren't working. James can still track their location, but communicating with them is going to be difficult. His only job was the earpieces, and he still managed to screw it up. Back in the lower flower, Pearl is trying to get a hold of everyone. She assumes the weather must be causing her earpiece to malfunction. Suddenly, she hears a voice calling out to her using her superhuman name, Saint Pearl. She turns to see a little girl hiding amongst the boxes, asking if she is the real Mrs. Saint Pearl. The little girl assumes Pearl has come here to save everyone, slowly coming out of her hiding spot. Pearl confirms that she is, though she isn't a Mrs. as she isn't married. After passing the crazy survivor, Galen continues his search by opening a large wooden door. This door leads him into the Great Hall. Inside here, the stench of blood is even stronger. He complains that his piece of garbage earpiece still isn't working, making an annoying racket inside of his ear. Up ahead in the Great Hall, he spots Pearl just standing around doing nothing. He finds this weird, calling out to her in a confused manner. For a moment, Pearl remains motionless before slowly turning around, keeping much of her face hidden in the darkness. Galen is surprised to see her already on the upper level. Did she really clear the lower floors that quickly? There's another moment of silence with Galen waiting for her to answer him. But when she turns fully around and the rest of her face enters the light, it appears sinister. In a flash, she pounces forwards, attempting to take a bite out of Galen. It's clear this isn't actually Pearl. With a mouth and face like a piranha, Galen swiftly dashes backwards to create some distance between the two of them. However, he is bleeding badly, and it is revealed he lost his entire right arm from that attack. It caught him off guard. He has more pressing things to worry about though, as the Inhuman is still coming towards him trying to get a second bite. Bro must have tasted real good. The creature snaps, and Galen dodges. Furniture flies around the room along with smoke and debris, with Galen continuing to move until he finds a place to hide and catch his breath. He was being way too careless. If he didn't react in time, he would have most definitely lost his head. It makes no sense to him how this creature can copy Pearl's exact appearance. He doesn't think this is an illusion, thinking the Inhuman must have some kind of mimic power. Obviously, he let his guard down back there, but even so, he could tell that the creature had a lot of killing power. His hiding spot is quickly found and the pillar is smashed instantly by the Inhuman. It no longer looks like Pearl and has started to morph back to its original shape. Blue with a fishy head, along with human-like arms and legs. As it rips into the pillar, Galen once again backs up, trying to stay far away from this thing. It's destroyed so many things that the room is filled with smoke and it is covered in rubble. Galen keeps a watchful eye on the creature while it recovers, slowly moving its mighty hand to push all the rubble out of the way. The smoke clears along with this rubble as the Inhuman makes its way to its feet. Looking uglier than your ex, it has a face on its belly and also a face on its head, with sharp, jagged teeth and a slimy long tongue. If this is its true form, then the creature really can transform into other people. Galen can't believe it. This is a situation he needs to take as seriously as possible. He removes the clothing from the upper half of his body, revealing juicy muscles and chiseled 8-pack abs underneath. With only one arm, he steps on his clothes and pulls until they start to rip down the middle. He turns his clothes into a bandage which he wraps tightly around his missing arm, attempting to stop the bleeding as much as possible. It really pisses him off losing a limb like this. He calls out to the Inhuman, demanding that it give him his arm back. The fight gets underway with the Inhuman galloping forwards towards Galen with malicious intent. Up in the helicopter, James is still watching everyone's locations carefully. Though annoyed about the earpieces, he's glad that the radar is still working. Looking carefully at the movements of Galen, James notices that they appear to be unusual. It looks like he could be in the middle of combat. With the storm outside getting more intense, the pilot turns to James to ask what they should do. Knowing it is dangerous to stay up in the air in these conditions, James informs the pilot to lower the helicopter and land on the deck. The cute little girl that Pearl met on the lower floor is holding her hand, leading her forward and calling out to someone, telling them that Saint Pearl has come here to save them. Pearl's eyes light up upon seeing who the little girl is talking to. A bunch of survivors that have been hiding down here around the boxes this whole time. People of all ages and backgrounds. They tell her that they aren't the only ones. Everyone that was in the lower levels are currently hiding in various places. Pearl had no idea there were this many survivors, and with potentially many more, she knows she needs to move fast here. The little girl starts speaking again. She knows it's a lot to ask for, but she hopes that Saint Pearl can save everyone. On the upper floors, a bottle of wine is knocked off of a table, smashing onto the ground and staining the carpet a blood red. The giant Inhuman steps right on top of the broken glass and stain, not caring in the slightest about getting cut. It's too caught up in its fight against Galen. The two of them are bouncing around the room at light speed, hurling strikes in each other's direction. It jumps high into the air, ready to bring a fist, attacking down on Galen from above. Using his superhuman abilities, Galen is able to block the fist with the only arm he has left. Yet his entire right side is left open because of his missing arm, a weakness that the Inhuman attempts to exploit. Thinking quick, Galen protects his right side using his leg. He can't believe he is being cornered in a fist fight like this. Even with one arm, he didn't expect to struggle to this degree. The Inhuman opens its gnarly mouth, trying to get another bite out of Galen. Bro must taste like fried chicken or something. To defend himself, Galen knees the beast in its lower jaw, forcing its mouth shut and flinging it across the room. He tuts and breaths deeply, noticing that the Inhuman has stayed in its true form during this fight, probably because its shape-shifting ability doesn't give it any combat advantage. Galen holds his head and lets out a sigh. He knows he needs to end this here. He looks up at the Inhuman with his eyes glowing an electric blue. The Inhuman glares right back, with a villainous red hue in its eyes. Next to Galen, he spots a barrel which he looks over to, as if coming up with a plan. Moments later, he runs forward with speed, delivering a swift kick into the side of the barrel. The barrel is merely wood and so shatters upon contact, sending the red wine that was stored inside splattering everywhere like a water bomb. However, with his superhuman abilities and glowing eye, Galen controls this splatter of wine, turning the liquid solid in the form of extremely sharp crystals. The Inhuman is caught off guard as these crystals hit every part of its body. Like bullets from a machine gun, they bounce off its beefy flesh and send it tumbling backwards. Galen is in a much better position, standing strong on the ground with smoke and remnants of the wine dripping from his leg. The glow within his eyes has gotten stronger, signaling how angry he has gotten throughout this battle. Off to the table on his left is a bottle of white wine laying around. He grabs a hold of it, smashing it into a nearby wall. Glass shatters everywhere, but he isn't concerned with that. He's more interested in the white wine liquid that is inside. He allows the liquid to pour out of the bottle, and as it does, he solidifies it into one giant crystal. The crystal forms around the wine bottle and trails up his hand. In a fed-up tone, he says that today has been a really annoying day for him. He's sorry, but he's really not in the mood to fool around any longer. This ends here and now. His right arm is gone, replaced by a bleeding stub wrapped in a dirty shirt, whereas his left arm has transformed into a razor-sharp crystal created from white wine. Presumably, he is going to use it as a weapon to end this fight quick. A quick flashback shows how Galen and Pearl met each other. Pearl was interviewing him while James and another guy named Ben watched closely. At this time, Galen was a thug that took out multiple American street gangs all by himself. Ben didn't like the idea of associating with such a person, but James told him to shush so he could hear the interview. Pearl could instantly tell that Galen was a superhuman through her research, but what she couldn't understand is how he was able to stop people from bleeding. Galen demonstrated his abilities with his glowing blue eyes, turning Pearl's coffee to a solid. He doesn't know how he does it, but he is able to instantly harden liquids around him. His range is 10 meters. There is no limit to the amount of liquid he can solidify within this range. However, it requires great amounts of stamina and concentration. Pearl compared this ability to freezing, but Galen explained that it is a little different. The principle is similar, but when he solidifies a liquid, it becomes too hard to call it freezing. Its hardness is comparable to diamonds. Pearl was extremely impressed with Galen's ability and found it unbelievable, realizing that such a thing could be used as a powerful weapon. That's how the two of them started working with each other. Back in the present, the fight between Galen and the Inhuman is about to resume, with Galen charging forward with his newly created diamond-like weapon. Part 1 ends here. If you enjoyed and would be interested in a part 2, show your support by hitting that like button and commenting the word super. Also consider subscribing so you don't miss the next upload. Thank you and take care.